So in today's marketplace, there's just so much information that needs to be consumed as it relates to ESG. And every day there's either a new regulation or an article that comes out that definitely needs to be consumed. We need to be knowledgeable so that not only we can prepare our ESG data for external consumption, but it's in line with what the market expects. It's in line with current trends and policies. And so Datamaran really provides us the ability to consume everything we need to in a very timely and efficient manner, so that we can make sure that we are disclosing up to date and in line with where the world is on that given day. Prior to Datamaran, it was quite manual, right? So you have several different news alerts telling you this legislation was passed, or this policy was passed, or this white paper was released, and sometimes there were items that slipped through the cracks. And so now we have a tool that allows us really to stay on top of all of that activity, again, quite efficiently. The thing that I love about Datamaran particularly is when you do a research or when you do some benchmarking, you're actually able to see your peer or other industry members' disclosures. So Datamaran makes it really easy to trust the data because the actual data is embedded within the tool, which is one of my favorite parts of it. One of the things that I'll say is Datamaran has actually allowed us to communicate ESG effectively to other functions within Cardinal Health. We've established a cross-functional working group within our organization to embed ESG in the different functions at Cardinal Health. And we quite often leverage the storyboard functionality of Datamaran to help communicate to those individuals what our peers or what other members in the business community are doing on specific ESG topics to help us inform meaningful discussions, plan strategically for ESG, and take action. It influences action because it tells people that if we don't keep up with the trends of ESG, if we don't do what our peers are, or if we don't think about what our peers are thinking about or take action the way our peers are taking action, we could be behind. So within our organization, it's been really fun to see the culture shift around ESG and build that trust and credibility. It's something at Cardinal we've really gone through an entire ESG transformation journey over the past 6 months where we have made it a point to integrate within the business to become what I like to call a two-way business partner. We help them because they help us, right? And so providing meaningful insights, data, preparing and disclosing meaningful stories that align with standards frameworks and other requirements has allowed us to establish that credibility within our organization and with our external stakeholders. When it comes to the external community asking us, it's really making sure, are we up to date on the current standards and frameworks? Do we know generally where we should be with our ESG disclosures and our program? And what kind of goals and targets are we setting that will allow us to track the actions that we're taking across our ESG priorities? And so over time, what we've been able to do is through consuming data on what regulations are in place, what our peers are doing, and what our stakeholders want to hear from us, we've leveraged that to build our ESG story and reporting to make sure that we are communicating that information to them effectively. The beauty of Datamaran is that it allows us to really distill all of that information and kind of cut through the noise to understand what is a priority to us, what is meaningful to us, and then build our communication and ESG disclosure strategy around that. So I think Datamaran's really helped us efficiently make those statements and communicate externally, and I think we'll only continue to use the tool more as we progress on our journey. Datamaran allows us to keep pace with our peers by understanding, well, what are they disclosing, how are they disclosing it, and what quality of disclosure are they really putting out in the marketplace. And that allows us to make our decision on how we want to present information a lot clearer and more efficiently make that decision as well, because again, we've been able to quickly consume what all these other companies are putting out in the public sphere. The biggest risk is becoming a laggard, right? I mean, the biggest risk is not keeping pace with what the external community expects of a company. And the last thing that any public or private company wants to see is their biggest rival or their biggest peer keeping pace with expectations, exceeding, and your company kind of sitting and falling behind. So I think there is a lot of risk with not keeping pace. There's a lot of risk with not understanding the entire landscape of what needs to be tracked, disclosed, what goals need to be set, and so again, that's where a tool really helps stay in tune with all of that activity, so that you can develop a strategy that is very specific to your priorities. So when you're a laggard, you're more focused on putting out fires than getting ahead and being strategic about how you're reducing your impact. And that's one of the things we've talked about at this conference is when you are a laggard, you think of this more as a risk mitigation standpoint, a compliance exercise, a check the box exercise, because you're constantly playing catch up to try to get to that point where you then can be strategic. And so if you're not a laggard and you are keeping up to date, then you can focus your attention on being a leader where you want to be a leader, investing your resources in innovation where it makes sense for your organization. And that's the biggest difference in my eyes. Yeah, I think it allows us to actually be a little bit more creative in where we want to focus our attention going forward. So again, we're not focused on checking the box compliance, risk mitigation. We know where our key risks are, we know what our key priorities are, and we really get to invest all of our time and effort in thinking strategically and engaging with stakeholders throughout the business on how can we truly embed ESG within our organization. I think it's getting people excited about ESG, right? And so when we're able to spend time with teams outside of ESG and really communicate the value and excite them about the opportunity, I've really seen some interesting creative thinking and innovation come out of our teams where they wouldn't typically spend time thinking about these things in day to day, right? I mean, our R&D team is thinking about innovative ways of eliminating certain types of materials or thinking about new products that they could roll out. And had they not had the ability to spend time with us and talk about that, I don't know if that would be on their agenda.